Hi everybody, how's it going? We're here live on the Onefootball YouTube channel previewing Crystal Palace against Arsenal. It's going to be a cracking match. Arsenal, of course, given a much longer Christmas break. I wonder who they paid for that. Today, we're going to be talking to Arsenal fans all across the world, some in London, some further afield, and we're going to be getting in touch with Manuel Veit from Football Grad, great blog on Russian football. He's going to be talking to us about 2018 because there's plenty going to be happening next year. So we're going to preview the 5 best things to come up in 2018 in terms of football. And of course, guys, let me know in the comments. It's just me by myself today with my wonderful partner Wilson here, who is going to be answering all your burning questions. So let me know.
Sorry, Max, I'm going to stop you there. I'm here with you.
Oh,
today.
You're here with me. Yeah. I know, I'm not all on my lonesome. An Arsenal fan who is supposedly a Crystal Palace fan, but not really.
Well, I grew up between Millwall, Palace and Charlton, so I made the educated move and picked Arsenal to be disappointed by somewhere slightly further away.
Yeah, fair enough. That is the way to go. Vikas saying hello. Lionel Messi, probably not the real Messi, is there. A lot of you guys saying you're the first. Well, let me know, guys, what your prediction is for the Arsenal game. Let us know what you want to talk about at the moment. Lots of stuff going on in the Premier League at the moment, and leagues across Europe being dominated by teams. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Ariesh saying Arsenal should win easily. Zezima saying 2-3, so he reckons Arsenal with an away win, but not an easy one. Last season, of course, it was 3-0 to Palace, and looking at the lineups today, all 3 goal scorers are in the lineup for Palace. Andros Townsend, Johan Kabay, and Luka Milivojevic, one of my favourite Palace players, actually, I've got to say. Great little player in the midfield, and pretty good penalty taker. Somebody should tell Ben Teckers that next time it's time for penalty duty. So let's get in touch right off the bat with Olli Moody, who many of you might know from the live show. He's in London at the moment, and we're going to be talking to him about his prediction for the Arsenal game and a few things that have been happening around the club this week. Live inside the Arsenal trophy cabinet, as far as I'm aware. Something like that. Something like that. Touching distance to the Emirates. Ollie, we see some. Oh no! Forget those guys. Forget those guys. We've been seeing some title-winning sides in the background here, but let's instead talk about Arsenal. And they're.
You've been wanting to get that one in for a long time, haven't you, Max?
Let's talk about Arsenal. They're about to play tonight against Crystal Palace. We'll be going through the lineup later in the show. But what, off the bat, is your prediction for tonight's game? What's it going to be looking like?
I'm quite positive as an Arsenal fan for tonight's game. I think, aside from anything else, the players have got a bit of something to set right, shall we say, from the last time they went to Crystal Palace. It was possibly the nadir of last season for Arsenal, getting absolutely hammered and absolutely dominated and played off the park by Crystal Palace last season. It was the game that convinced Wenger to switch the tactics a little bit, switch to a back 3 or back 5, depending on how you look at it. And it did spark a bit of a revival after that that led to the team winning the cup final, I think. So I think definitely the players going there, the players who played there last season, know that they need to put on a better show than they did last time. And I think that will drive them to a win tonight.
And it's interesting you mentioned there the tactical switch to a back 3, because in the recent games, it looks to me like he's gone back to a back 4. Why has he done that? Is that to do with injury, or has he just decided that the back 3 should be abandoned? What do you reckon is the story there?
You know what? I was never convinced that Wenger wanted to make that switch to a back 3. It always seemed, even at the time, it was a shocking performance and a terrible defeat, as I said, that led to him making that switch. And I think even he felt it was more out of necessity than something that he wanted to do or something that he believed was good for the team. And I feel like he's always been looking for excuses to switch back to a back four. I don't think he's done it with the right personnel in place. I don't think we've got the centre midfield to make a back four work. I think that was the reason we needed to switch in the first place. And he's done it with Monreal at centre back. Now, I like Monreal in a back three. I don't particularly like him in a back two or a back four. And Maitland-Niles has been playing a lot at left back, which is another one that I can't really fathom. He's done all right.
Ahead of Sead Kolasinac. I mean, that just blows my mind.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, Kolasinac was, of course, someone who was in the Bundesliga team of the season last year. He's got a lot of the kind of traits that Arsenal need. He's a unit. He's quite aggressive in his play. I don't think he's pulled up trees since he moved to Arsenal, but I don't think he's been poor either, certainly compared to some of the other players on the team. So I can't really fathom it myself, but the only thing I can say is, as I say, Wenger never really seemed to want to make that switch to a back three or back five in the first place. So I feel like this was always going to happen at some point, and it's now.
Well, it's a strange one for me because I actually think it was one of the very few moments of brilliance of Wenger just in the last few years where I felt like tactically Arsenal weren't really developing, and this was something that really made them into a different proposition with the wing backs as well. Bellerin, who's fantastic down the flank, and because of that, playing in a wing back position, was able to get forward a bit more. And Kolasinac, again, another player who brings something different to the table, but a real powerhouse, as you mentioned, who can play at wing back, not just at left back, because it is a different position. And we've seen a lot of players who play in one of the two positions not do well in the other. Very strange to me.
And Wenger has always been, tactically at least, quite a reactive coach rather than a proactive coach. He doesn't set the team out because he thinks he's got the kind of tactical solution to beat all teams. He sets the team out with what he knows, and if it gets to a point where that tactical setup really isn't working to the point where the team looks like it's going to drop down the table, that's when he changes it. And that's what, as I said, led to the back three, the back five before. And I can't, for the life of me, fathom where he thinks the team has changed to the point where the back four will work again. We don't have centre midfielders who protect the defence well enough to make it work. So I just don't see it. Aside from, again, saying that it's what Wenger knows, it's what he's always wanted to have. It's only this brief kind of period at Arsenal where he's had this back five. Other than that, he's pretty much always gone with the back four. And so it just seems to me as Wenger kind of reverting to type rather than because he believes that he's got the solution to beat all teams.
Well, let's move up a little bit further up the pitch then. First stop is midfield, where Jack Wilshere has, put it this way, from my point of view, he's played a few games and people are getting really excited again because he's not injured. But it looks like he's been offered a contract extension. As far as we know, they're in the final discussion rounds. I've seen quoted a financial issue to be remedied. Do you think that he's been offered some sort of a pay-to-play deal? Because surely they can't justify giving someone who's injured that much 70, 80 grand a week.
Sure, it's not just about injuries as well. I mean, Wilshere has been available in terms of injury for a large part of this season and has not been getting in the team. Basically, Wenger does not seem to actually have faith in him to run that centre midfield. So certainly from Arsenal's point of view, a pay-to-play deal is the only thing that really makes sense. From Wilshere's point of view, it doesn't make any sense at all because he's really only been playing now and then. He's played in the Europa League and played in the League Cup, but not really been playing many games, even as a substitute in the Premier League. And of course, when Aaron Ramsey comes back from injury, another player who has had a lot of injury problems, but when he comes back from injury, Wilshere again will probably not be first choice, will probably be at best in and out of the team. Look, a lot of Arsenal fans, myself included, would love nothing more than to see Jack Wilshere become the player that we always wanted him to be, become the player that he, showed flashes of, showed potential for all those years ago. He's not shown the signs of that, though. He kept fit at Bournemouth for a large part of last season and ended the season kind of out of the first team there, which is not particularly promising when you consider that he switched them from Bournemouth back to Arsenal. He's not been in the team for large parts of this season.
Do you see his future at Arsenal long term, or do you think he has to sort of take the loss, take the hit, and just go to a different club?
To be honest with you, I don't see a long-term future for him at Arsenal, and I'm quite surprised that it looks like a deal is close because it looked very much like the club was willing to let his contract run down and willing to essentially let him go at the end of this season. Generally speaking, I think when a player of Wilshere's age takes a loan to a club like Bournemouth, it's not a player that actually has a great shining future at a top 4, top 5 club. So I'm kind of surprised to hear these rumours that a deal is almost done. And if it is about the money, then I can only assume it's that Arsenal are really trying to lowball him and essentially keep a player on what in today's market at least is a very low fee. That's the only way I can see this being a solution that actually works for the team or for the club.
Well, another player who's been in and out of the gossip columns is Olivier Giroux. In the closed season in the summer, it looked like Everton were interested in him. They certainly missed out on signing a big striker. They certainly needed one. Now, today it's emerging that they've tabled a bid of around 28 million for Cenk Tosun, striker for Besiktas Istanbul. So maybe the obvious choice of Olivier Giroux, where he could go in terms of getting a first team, a starting berth, and maybe impressing his manager ahead of the World Cup. Everton looks to be ruled out if that deal goes through. What do you think? Will he stay at Arsenal? Will he be looking to move away either in January or in the summer?
I think there's a decent chance that he'll stick around. I mean, he almost left in the summer, as you say, to Everton. And a few months later, he came out and said he had almost gone, but he was glad that he'd stayed at Arsenal. He hasn't had the opportunities that he would have wanted since Lacazette came in. Possibly with Sanchez moving in the January window, there might be a few more chances for him, but I don't see him getting that many games for the rest of the season. Everton, as you say, does look to be out, but possibly a move back to France could be on the cards for Giroud. Obviously, that would put him kind of, right in the, in the right league to be in the French sports media a lot, to be in the tension of the French kind of football press and football fans, and that might be what he ends up banking on to get himself a place in the team for the World Cup. Certainly wouldn't rule that out, although I also wouldn't rule out him staying at Arsenal for the remainder of the season. I think he'll get enough chances to impress, and certainly I think when he's played this season, he's done enough to keep himself in the minds of the French coaches, and I think as well he's the kind of player that they need in that squad. He's something different to a lot of the other attackers that France has, and so I think Olivier Giroux should feel kind of confident in his place there, and I wouldn't rule out him staying at Arsenal for the rest of the season. But other than that, I think a move to France is probably his best option.
Well, now let's get your completely unbiased view of where Arsenal will finish this season. The title race looks to be over.
Yeah.
City have claimed the top spot. United,
Sure.
Despite 2 back-to-back draws, probably still the favourite for second place. Obviously, I'm biased from that point of view. Chelsea also looking like third or second place is where they'll finish. So it looks like between Tottenham, Liverpool and Arsenal, it's going to be a 3-horse race to get into that top 4 unless Chelsea and United have a really bad run of form. What do you make of Arsenal's chances?
I think Burnley are going to finish 4th, Max. So, I'm kidding. Yeah, it does seem to be like a bum fight between those 3 teams, doesn't it? Spurs, Liverpool, and Arsenal. At the moment, Liverpool's attack looks so good that you would fancy them to do well for the rest of the season. That being said, Harry Kane's just got, just bagged a load of goals around the Christmas period. So Tottenham will be feeling pretty confident. Those 2 teams, you would say, both have something about them more than Arsenal this season. They both have these sort of, well, in Liverpool's case, that incredible attack. When it clicks, it's just phenomenal. Now signing Van Dijk as well for all that money, you would hope for their sakes that it does something to improve their defence. I still think they're vulnerable, even with an expensive addition there. Tottenham are probably better in defence, and if Kane can keep firing like he is at the moment for the rest of the season, you would definitely fancy them ahead of Arsenal, the way Arsenal have been playing. But we've said this before about Arsenal, that other teams look more impressive, other teams seem to have more about them, and yet Arsenal so many times have managed to find a way to finish in the top 4. A lot might depend on whether Arsenal can or have the willingness to spend and get someone in January. What's going to happen with Sanchez? Is Lamar a viable option? Things like that. So it's difficult to say. I, at the moment, think that Arsenal are possibly the 3rd best out of those 3 teams, and yet I'm fairly confident or fairly positive about the chances of making it into the top 4. If you held a gun to my head and asked me, I would probably say Arsenal are going to finish 5th. But all we need is, for example, Salah or Kane to pick up an injury, and I think there's a good chance Arsenal will leapfrog one of those two teams at least and possibly make it to the top 4.
Well, and all you need, if you do finish 5th, is for Tottenham to finish 6th, and then it's not that bad, really, is it?
Yeah, that'd be okay, exactly. As long as we finish above them.
And then they'll get picked apart in the summer by Real Madrid, who'll snap up Harry Kane or Dele Alli, or both.
We can win a cup again as well, just to rub it in how long it's been since Tottenham have actually won a proper trophy.
There you go, then. So Tottenham fans, beware, because Arsenal might just finish 5th, and you'll finish 6th.
Looking forward to the comment.
To be fair, I think Liverpool right now looking really great. You've got to say, and with Van Dijk, I mean, it's an absurd feat. I think 75 million. For
it's
Van
ludicrous,
Dijk.
Isn't it?
Especially because he's thrown his toys out the pram, and who knows in 2-3 years' time when maybe a bigger club than Liverpool come in. And yes, Liverpool fans, there is such a thing. When a bigger club comes in and then he throws his toys out the pram again and tries to get his transfer. Strange one for me to pay 75 million for him when he hasn't been playing that well. But if finally then, let's end on the January transfer window. You mentioned that you'd like to see Arsenal maybe get in a pair of legs. What part
and
of
a body, if possible.
The whole body would be good. Who would you like to see come in then, or what position specifically do you think needs strengthening?
I think Arsenal more than anything need a centre midfielder. You know, I like Xhaka more than most Arsenal fans, I think, probably because I remember how good he was in the Bundesliga at times. But it's not working having him as one of the main 2 centre midfielders. I wouldn't want to see Coquelin come in to replace him either. I don't think Wilshere has got the legs, or I don't think he's shown enough anyway in the last few games to suggest that he should be an undisputed first choice. I'd like to see Arsenal go out and get someone like Seri, if possible, someone who's got a lot of, sort of defensive now, someone who's got a real engine on them to play alongside Aaron Ramsey and allow him to get forward a bit more. Other than that, perhaps if we're talking about attackers, let's say, for example, if Alexis were to go, Thomas Lemar was mooted kind of in the summer on deadline day, especially as I recall. And if Arsenal could get someone of his caliber in, that would just be fantastic. I think if Sanchez goes and nobody comes in to replace him, then it's looking quite thin for Arsenal in that front 3. And you do just wonder if there's anyone of the required quality to step into that breach. Certainly there's no one on Sanchez's level, so who do you put there is a big question. So if Sanchez sticks around, I think it's hard to see an attacker coming in. But regardless of what happens, I would like to see a centre midfielder brought in, someone with a real engine on them, someone with real drive and aggression, but can also play the kind of Arsenal way, as it were, more passing football than long ball stuff. So that would be my dream, basically. But I don't think it's going to happen. I can't see Arsenal signing anyone in the winter transfer window.
Yeah. Well, I'm just hearing from our producer, Anthony, we have time for one more question, which is your top 3 takeaways from being at home at Christmas with the folks. Olli Moody, what's it been like?
Oh, you know what? What I always miss in Germany, Max, people ask me, what do you miss out of everything? And I always say, family, of course, and stuff like that. So it's been lovely seeing them. My goddaughter's back from Spain as well. They live in Spain, so lovely seeing them. Well, what I miss more than anything, Max, is the food. And the Germans, any Germans watching, or anyone who's not from the UK watching, will laugh because English and British cuisine has such a terrible reputation. But I miss having a proper bacon sandwich in the morning. I miss having a good roast dinner. So that's got to be at the top out there. Yeah.
I've got to say, I'm the same as you though, and people always laugh at me for saying I miss food in England, but it's true. There's loads of stuff you can't get.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's probably my top one. I'd say the second one is that English TV is terrible, absolutely terrible, and I don't miss it one bit. And if I was to move back, that would probably drive me to suicide. It's awful. And third, God, you've asked me for 3 things here. I haven't been thinking all Christmas, so 3 things is is 3 more things I've thought about for the last 5 days.
Is it nice to be back in your childhood bunk bed?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I'd fit in a bunk bed anymore, Max, to be honest with you. It's nice to be home. You're in my dad's office at the moment, actually, so you can see.
So it's not the Arsenal trophy cabinet?
This is actually not the Arsenal trophy cabinet. I lied to you before we went on air.
We were convinced. There was
the third is that you guys. I guess the third observation is that you guys just can't leave me alone, even when I'm on holiday, can you?
Well, we're nearing kickoff, Crystal Palace, Arsenal. So thank you so much for joining us, Ollie. Quickly, give us your hot tip for the game today. What do you reckon would be the result?
2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal.
Okay,
I think Lacazette's going to score.
Maybe letting the goal.
Probably find out he's not playing now. And who else? I don't know. Surprise. Own goal.
Oh, an own goal. Well, tasty stuff. Thank you, Ollie, for joining us from what isn't the Arsenal trophy cabinet, despite the stunning lack of Premier League trophies behind you. We will go through the lineups now for Crystal Palace Arsenal and let you relax and watch the game and enjoy the game. And I'm pretty sure you're right. I think Arsenal will win. All the best, Ollie. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Max.
Talk to Olli Moody, who is live inside the Arsenal trophy cabinet. Well, 17 minutes to kick off, guys, and we've got the lineups here ready for you. And Arsenal playing, quite incredibly, with a back three again, which sounds like Wenger took Ollie's advice there. We've got Petr Cech in goal, obviously, Lauren Koscielny, Shkodran Mustafi, and Callum Chambers in the back three, which, let me tell you, is one of the first times that Arsenal have played with three centre-backs when they played with a back three. Petr Cech, one game away from going 200 Premier League games without a goal. So that would be his 200th clean sheet in the Premier League. Then we've got a midfield with Hector Bellerin. I think that's slightly juggled here. We've got Sead Kolasinac on the left-hand side where Wilshere's pictured. Hector Bellerin on the right, and then Granit Xhaka and Jack Wilshere in central midfield. Up top, Alexis Sanchez, Lacazette, and Mesut Ozil. Again, I think we've a little rejig there with Alexis Sanchez on the right, Ozil on the left, and Lacazette on the top. But a good lineup for me from Arsenal. Not a lot on the bench, though, guys. And for Arsene Wenger, he's one game away now from matching Fergie's record in terms of Premier League games managed, which is quite incredible to me. Meanwhile, Palace have got Benteke in the starting lineup, Zaha and Townsend as well. So a little bit of an attacking threat there. And Jeffrey Schlupp, who I like as well, at left back. We've got him here in the centre. A little glitch there in the system, guys. But Palace have... Yeah, Palace have had quite incredible form, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games unbeaten. No, 9 games unbeaten, if I'm correct here. 9 games unbeaten for Crystal Palace. And, of course, the last time that Crystal Palace were hosted Arsenal, it was 3-0 Palace, and all 3 goal scorers in the lineup today. We're going to be talking to an Arsenal fan in New Zealand shortly. But let's first... Let's first talk a little bit about the supremacy of top clubs in Europe. So we've had Manchester City dominate the Premier League, a better form than Crystal Palace, believe me. I know it's quite incredible, who have done really well under Roy Hodgson. I wasn't too sure about that appointment. Let us know in the comments what you thought about Hodgson's appointment. He's obviously proved the doubters wrong, 9 games unbeaten. But the real team to beat in the Premier League is Manchester City. No one can beat them. Same goes for France, PSG. The money's there, and the results have gone their way. In Spain, it's either Barcelona or Real Madrid. This year, it's Barcelona. And in Germany, well, it's been Bayern for the past 5 seasons in a row. Juventus, 7 titles in a row in Italy. So let's have a proper think about what that means, and are we really in an era of super clubs, or is this the way it's always been? Christmas time was not so much a time of giving for football fans, but rather of worrying. Worrying that Manchester City are dominating the English Premier League like never before. Not just that they're dominating with the best players and the best coach, but that they'll keep doing so, funded by the millions of barrels of oil money at their disposal. Making matters worse for those of us who fear the new dawn of the football super team is that everywhere you look in Europe, it's kind of the same story. Pep City are unstoppable. PSG are giving it to the French league. Bayern are doing what Bayern do. And Barca are taking their turn at winning La Liga. But thank God for Italy, right? It's true the title race is a little bit closer this year, but Juventus will have to fight for their 7th consecutive Scudetto. It sounds pretty bleak, and it's a popular narrative, but is it true? Well, I've got good and bad news. Everyone can see that yes, in 4 of the 5 big leagues, there's a big gap at the top of the table. But the more important question is here, is the current trend of 1 or 2 teams dominating every domestic league actually anything new? Well, let's take a lightning fast look at the last 17 years in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Ready? Let's look at Spain first. Since the year 2000, only a few teams have broken up the duopoly between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Valencia and Atletico getting a little bit of a look in, meaning a total of 4 clubs have won the league in that time, with an average winning margin of 5.4 points. In Germany, it's just one team that dominates the field, the record champions Bayern Munich. They're 5 on the bounce right now. Looks like they'll win it again this year with 11 points ahead of Schalke going into the winter break. And over the years, a few teams have got a look in, to be fair. Dortmund, Bremen, Stuttgart, Wolfsburg being able to break up the dominance occasionally, but 5 clubs winning, mostly Bayern, and with an average gap of 9 points. The Premier League has also seen 5 different clubs winning, with Leicester sneaking in a few seasons ago, but it's been Manchester United, Arsenal trading blows at the start of the century, and then Chelsea getting in there as well with a bit of Abramovich money, and of course now City, flush with cash, getting in there as well. So 5 clubs winning overall in the last 17 years with an average gap of 6.5 points. Periods of dominance are nothing new in France, with Lyon being the super club at the start of the 21st century. PSG have kind of taken that mantle over, but in between Bordeaux, Marseille, Lille and Montpellier got a look in. Nantes also got a league title in the early 2000s, and Monaco won last year. So France have had 8 different teams win the title over the last 17 years. That's the most in Europe, but look at that points gap, 15.5. What a winning margin. Well, the title race in Italy is a little bit closer this season, but Juventus have completely dominated in recent years. 6 titles in a row, it could be 7. And before that, you look at Inter Milan, 5 in a row as well, AC grabbing a few. Only 4 clubs have won the Scudetto since 2000, with Roma sneaking in the first of those years. The average points gap here is 8 points. So England, Spain, Italy and Germany have all had 4 to 5 winners in the last 17 years. Only France has had more, 8 different teams, but there the winning margin has been huge, an average of 15 points. Another thing we see in those lists is that every single league has had at least one club with a period of dominance over the last 17 years. So the rise of the super club is really nothing new. And while it's true that France is the least competitive in terms of their average winning margin, they've had 8 clubs take the title. So yes, it's true that Manchester City are dominating the Premier League like no one else before. And the same is happening in Germany, but that's nothing new. And in France, PSG are just doing what Lyon did with their 7 consecutive league titles. The same is happening in Italy, where Juve are just following in Inter Milan's footsteps. So domination is nothing new. What's different is that right now all Europe's leagues are being dominated at the same time. But it's not a new thing, whether it's last century or this century. But are you less interested in football because the super clubs are going to dominate forever? Currently, oil money is lubricating the transfer funds, but there's one thing worth remembering. Oil won't last forever. Is it time to take a chill pill, or should we hit the panic button? Let us know. Christmas time was not so much a time of giving for football fans, but rather of worrying. Worrying that Manchester City are dominating the English Premier League like never before. Not just that they're dominating with the best players and the best coach, but that they'll keep doing so, funded by the millions of barrels of oil money. Live, and we've got the game underway. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal in the beautiful Selhurst Park, under the lights, of course. And guys, let us know in the comments how you think this game is going to go. We've got a very special guest on the line from New Zealand all the way, talking to us about his favourite club, Arsenal. How's it going? And so how does a Kiwi become an Arsenal fan? I'm intrigued by this. And I haven't introduced you properly yet, but surely this is a fake name, Kane Powers. So, how have you been? What have you thought of the Arsenal season so far? I got to tell you honestly, I like that they played the back three at the end of last season, sort of taking it in now. Now, today, back to a back three. There was a few games where Arsenal sort of seemed to be interested in a back four again. What do you make of that?
Away games or drawing a lot of away games, whereas Kolasinac provides more attacking kind of options. So I think he wanted to tighten up defensively, which is what I think is why he made the switch. But you'll see, as we're looking at now, he's gone back to the back three with the wing backs.
Yeah, and he's actually playing three centre backs as centre backs, which is quite incredible for this season. No Monreal, of course, he's out injured. So far, 0-0, not much happening yet.
Hello.
And I'm joined here by Joe, who is technically, well, should be a Crystal Palace fan, but isn't.
No.
How does that work?
I took the high road.
You took the high road. So
literally.
You're not Arsenal fan.
No, literally.
But should...
I thought I'd be disappointed by a club that was an extra journey for me to get to.
Fair enough. Yeah, so you have the disappointing ride home.
Exactly.
Back.
Why be disappointed when you can, near home, when you can be disappointed further away?
Well, but you have been to Selhurst Park.
Of course.
And you were just telling me while we were watching the stadium that you used to sit next to a pole.
Just behind the dugouts, we can see on the screen here. There's
restricted view, as I understand
restricted view, but it was actually much better because I never got to see the opposition score because it was always sort of hidden behind that column. So every Palace game I went to, they won.
Fair enough.
In my mind.
Yeah, you just didn't see the goal. Are either of you worried about this game today? Because Crystal Palace, unbeaten in 9, and last season they won 3-0 against Arsenal at this very ground. Any worries?
Yeah, I think there's a good shout for a Palace victory today. I almost would bet. I'd bet a lot of money that Andros Townsend is going to score a goal. He seems to always pull one out for Arsenal.
Yeah, he's been great since going to Palace. He sort of filled the void that Balassi left.
Yeah, and a former Spurs player, I'm sure he would be quite happy to oblige and score. Come on, a bit more optimism, guys, though.
I personally, as a terrible fan, I want to see a Palace win just to get them outside that relegation zone. And I'm kind of enjoying. I'd like to hear the Wenger out again brigade come out because that's always fun.
Well, former Arsenal player George Weah has former Wenger player George Weah has just been elected president of Liberia. So the Wenger out brigade could see Wenger then going Wenger in to maybe being a prime minister somewhere.
Yes.
Some obscure country. Who knows? It's still 0-0, guys. 5 minutes in. Arsenal with the majority of the possession. How scared is our Kiwi Arsenal fan, Kane, about the prospect of losing Sanchez, Ozil, January transfer window? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Ozil will stay. And I'm not scared about losing Sanchez. Obviously he's an incredible player. I don't think he really fits, and I don't think he really wants to be there anymore. And therefore, if he doesn't want to be involved in the team, it's not good for the team. So I think he should go. Also, he hasn't been performing this season. I think maybe it's a sign that his heart isn't truly in it. He's kind of flirting with ideas of joining other teams. So it wouldn't be sad to see him go, but I think Ozil's going to stay. I think he's he's the main man at Arsenal. Everything revolves around him. So I think he'd be happy enough as long as he gets a decent payday.
Yeah, I think it's looking more and more likely that he'll stay because his options, more than anything else, his options are limited. I mean, he could go to Bayern Munich and to Germany and be a big star there, but he's not really got. I would be very surprised if other Premier League clubs are really looking to sign Ozil, especially there's been a few rumours with Manchester United. I don't really see that happening. RK here saying he likes Joe's shirt.
Oh, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, RK.
How much is he willing to...
Are you wanting to buy this shirt, RK, or are you just wondering where he got it from?
Postage is free if he's in Germany.
Yeah, postage is on the flip side, Crystal Palace, rejuvenated side under Roy Hodgson.
Yes, revelation.
Can we all just admit that none of us thought that would happen?
I've always been a big Roy fan, so...
Bullshit. But to go 9 games unbeaten with a Crystal Palace side is quite an achievement.
I think England should have just stuck on.
Oh dear, no! I'm really quite pleased that.
Think where England could be now.
No, nowhere.
Roy stayed.
We could be nowhere really. Still 0-0, 7 minutes in, or 8 minutes in actually, almost, guys. Sorry. Yeah, Manuel Veit coming up soon to give you his preview of 2018. We're going to be talking all about what we can expect in the coming football calendar year.
More of Roy Hodgson.
Kane, let us know your prediction then. Arsenal at the moment not in the top 4, and to me, I would say that they're one of the 2 teams to miss out alongside Tottenham, actually. Do you see them qualifying for the Champions League this season?
Yeah, I do. Even if it's just a bit of optimism, I think. I think that the players, since we missed out last year, I think they really want it. I think we're good enough, Maybe bring in 1 or 2 more people at the January transfer window. And I think we can do it. Spurs will mess it up. I think we'll make 4th.
Well, Spurs missing out is, of course, every Arsenal fan's dream. Just a few comments to get through here. Nishad, he's saying Julian Draxler would be a great replacement for Sanchez.
I think we've mentioned that before.
And he's going to see his time limited at PSG because of the arrivals of Kylian Mbappe and Neymar. Lakshya saying hi. Hi, Lakshya, good to have you back.
I think the man we're seeing on Zaha would be also.
Yeah, I mean, Wilfried Zaha. At United, he didn't exactly exude confidence.
Yeah, I don't think he had much of a chance, though.
No, and I mean,
he came in as a sub.
If you're going to shag your manager's daughter, as we are led to believe by the tabloids.
Is that what happened?
Well, I don't think it probably didn't happen, but wouldn't it be funny if that was the case? I mean, that was what was said at the time. Yes. I don't know how much truth is to that, but...
is that why Moyes' face is so red?
Yes, probably.
That was why. The anger.
Moyes also left with a bit of egg on his face when the other day he said, I could manage any team in the world, and then he's failed to win since he said those words. Not a great look for Moisey. Still 0-0, 10 minutes in. Arsenal, a lot of possession. Not a lot behind it, though, unfortunately.
Palace are going in quite hard, I've noticed, on the Arsenal players.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Ozil, after the match, will be having his usual rant about how football these days is too physical and people shouldn't be touching his players.
Or he just didn't see it.
Yeah, I did not see it. Kane, what do you think about the situation with Jack Wilshere? Because he's currently, as we understand, about to sign a new deal. I suspect what's holding it up is that they maybe want him to sign some sort of performance-based contract, maybe a pay-as-you-play sort of deal because of how injured he is. But can he seriously expect to get 70 grand at Arsenal? What do you reckon? Should he stay?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he should stay. I like Jack. I think most Arsenal fans like Jack. Yeah. It's because he's an Arsenal man himself. He's just and he's been around for a long time. He's homegrown. I think there's a lot of advantages to having Jack in the team. I think he's proving that he can remain fit. But I think you're right. They've probably got some kind of pay-as-you-go performance type deal on the table, maybe with a weekly stipend on top of that. Yeah, I'd see Jack stay, and I think he will.
They're waiting for him to take a vaporizer sponsorship.
Yeah.
Benson Hedges are out.
Get rid of the Benson Hedges. Jack, maybe then you'll return to fitness. Now, he's playing today, in the starting 11 today, actually. So, at the moment, looking much as we expected, Arsenal with the lion's share of the possession, but no big chances yet.
Both managers are wearing full kit attire.
Full kit attire, and both managers have successfully negotiated their zippers, which for Arsene Wenger isn't always a given.
No.
Kane, thank you so much for joining us, all the way from New Zealand.
Thank you, Kane.
Enjoy the match. I'm sure we're going to see goals. I really hope we're going to see goals, because at the moment it's a little bit off
we
the
got
pace.
Speroni in check, so it's going to be
So what's your prediction, Kane, just before you leave us?
Arsenal 2-1.
Arsenal 2-1. Funnily enough, the exact same prediction as our Arsenal expert, Olli Moody.
Yep.
So there must be something to it. You reckon as well, Andros Townsend good for a goal.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll place your bets now. You've heard it here first. RK, quickly before we go, saying Arsenal will never win the league under Wenger. They need a new manager and a new owner.
Well, they have won it under Wenger.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
But not again, I suppose, is what he's saying.
That's
So, Kane, thanks so much for joining us. Hope to see you again here on Onefootball. Enjoy the match. All the best. And Arsenal will not finish in the top 4, I think. But you are confident they will. So that's some good old Arsenal positivity. Thanks for joining us, and see you very soon.
Nice one. Thank you, mate.
Okay, guys, it's time to welcome Manuel Witt into the Onefootball studios. So let's get Manuel's view on the next year. 2017 is pretty much over, at least in footballing terms. We have one more weekend of Premier League games ahead of us. 2018, though, lots of stuff happening. So how you doing, Manuel?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, good. Manuel, of course, joining us from the blog Football Grad. So I can guess that probably Russia's going to feature somewhere in this top 5 of yours. Let's get the ball rolling then. Number 1, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What are you looking forward to in 2018?
Well, I'm really curious about Manchester City and, the big dominance of the Premier League. Pep Guardiola seems to have found the magic that he had with Bayern and Barca, and maybe currently is topping it. I believe he's won every game except for one that he drew. And there's a lot of talk about whether or not they can be the next Invincibles, and I'm really, really, really curious whether in 2018 he can do it. And there was a lot of talk about Pep Guardiola, maybe almost a tiny bit of arrogance, saying that he did it in Mickey Mouse leagues, and we've never seen this kind of dominance in any of the former clubs he had. So I'm really curious to see whether 2018 could be the year where Pep Guardiola teaches England that the rest of Europe isn't exactly Mickey Mouse leagues, because he's just absolutely dominating that competition.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's hard for me as a Manchester United supporter to accept it, but City is just blowing it away at the moment. And the thing is, it's not just that they're not losing games, but they're just winning. They're not really drawing. I think they've drawn 1 game so far this season, something crazy like that. And 16 on the bounce, I think, or 17. I'm losing track because, honestly, I literally stopped watching Manchester City because it just hurts too much. But, yeah, I think you're right. It is going to be interesting to see whether Guardiola can keep this up and how long he can keep it up for. Because at the moment, it looks like no one's going to get near them. The title race is basically over. And Guardiola has proved his doubters wrong, because I, for one, thought maybe, just maybe, the Premier League would prove a little bit tougher for him, but at the moment, second season, he looks like he's cruising to the title, really. So let's get away from this horrible topic for me and all United supporters. What else are you looking forward to?
Well, from one dominant side to another, the second thing I picked was Bayern Munich, and I thought this would be really the year where maybe someone could take him and dislodge him from the Bundesliga throne. But Jupp Heynckes came in and given the side a second Second Life, but I'm curious because we all know by the summer it will definitely be over for Heinkes. It will be likely over for Ribéry and Robben. So I am just absolutely curious what Bayern are going to do. Who's going to be their new coach? Who are they going to bring in terms of signings? Are Ribéry and Robben going to stay, or is that it for them? So this is, I think, one of the big stories that are happening. I think we've seen parts of it develop already under Ancelotti, and then Heinkes sort of came in and rescued the situation. But I'm really curious to see what happens when some of those key players are gone and the coach are gone, and how are they going to manage the transition. So I think that's a really big story coming to us in the summer, and something that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I'm a journalist as well. I like to tell stories, right? And I like to follow stories. So this is going to be one that's going to be very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge rebuilding job for whoever takes over. I was kind of surprised when they got in Jupp Heynckes because, well, first of all, that he said yes, because he's done it 4 times now. It might be getting a little bit boring. But it's going to be a massive job, and it doesn't really look to me like there's a clear favorite. There was a time where we all thought it would be Nagelsmann. Then Thomas Tuchel is sort of still getting mentioned by a lot of people that I kind of trust when it comes to this. I personally am not convinced that Tuchel is the man for the job at Bayern. But yeah, it's a whole lot of question marks for a team that is top of the league with an 11-point gap. So let's see if that'll get resolved in the summer. Probably will. What else do you look forward to in the coming year?
Well, this kind of leads into 2 points, but let's start with May. And May is always April, May when the seasons end in Europe. This is my favorite time. I spend a lot of time in North America, but I usually come back for this time of the year, and I come back for May. And the reason is because it's so exciting to be in Europe. It's so exciting to look at around the different leagues. We've usually followed the Bundesliga in May, and we're in a bunch of different stadiums around that time. And to see the titles dished out, the DFB Pokal finale, the FA Cup final in England, all those big exciting finals happening and decisions being made, who gets into the Champions League, who gets relegated, relegation playoffs, all those kind of things, they all take place in May. And there's a special buzz, I find, around, especially around in Germany, where the DFB Pokal final is such a big thing as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's always almost my favorite time of the year, actually, when all those things get decided, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, and there's a massive final that you're really looking forward to, the Champions League final.
Which is exactly my next point, because yes, Football Grad, started in Eastern Europe, and I lived for a long time in Kiev, and the Champions League final was in Kiev, so I'm going back, I'm going to see some friends, I'm going to basically go back to the roots and go attend this game, and I'm really looking forward to the Champions League final. Don't really care too much who's in it. I have a feeling it could be Bayern against Manchester City, just because that would be an amazing storyline, Pep Guardiola, the guy who replaced Heinkes against the guy who he replaced. And that could be an amazing final. It could be maybe show, for both clubs where it's going to go. And I think that would be an amazing final. But honestly, I'm just looking forward to this final being taking place in Kiev, in a city that I really enjoy and has enjoyed a long time living there. And so, yeah, that's going to be definitely a highlight for me personally. But I think for everyone really who loves football.
And it could be that finally Real Madrid aren't in the final, because they're going to be facing PSG in not too long a time. So we could be seeing finally a different constellation than just Juventus, Atletico, or Real Madrid in the final. So last but not least, the World Cup. I think that's got your appetite.
Yeah, I know, the World Cup. It's not the last thing on the list, but it is definitely the biggest thing on the list. And yeah, it's in Russia. I've personally been building towards this tournament for 5 years now, ever since I started my PhD dissertation on the topic. But since then, Football Grad got started. I've been to Russia many, many times. I was at the Confederations Cup and did a lot of work for Onefootball as well for the Confederations Cup. And this is a tournament I'm very much looking forward to. I mean, the World Cup is always special. I was in Brazil on the final weekend, and that was already quite special. I personally believe that Brazil was probably the best tournament that we've ever experienced, just because it's such an amazing country to host the tournament, right? That the feeling of it was perfect. But I actually think that Russia will, despite all the side issues, all the things that are going on, Mutko, for example, stepping down finally now this week, and all these allegations and doping, corruptions, etc. I think actually once the World Cup kicks off, it will be such a fantastic tournament, and being at such a tournament is always an amazing experience. So yes, I mean, whatever I will say afterwards will be shadowed by whatever happens in Russia, because it is the biggest stage and only happens once every 4 years.
And we've got amazing teams as well. I mean, Brazil are looking really dangerous. France, Germany could defend their title. I think it's going to be really competitive. Really quickly, I want your hot favorite for the World Cup title. Who's going to win it?
No, I said this many times in the past. I think if everything goes the way it should, it will be Germany. But a tournament like that is so difficult, right? You saw that in France 2016. Schweinsteiger lifts his arm up and it's a handball, and the tournament is over, the game is over, and you lose and you're out. And that's all it takes in the World Cup, because once you get into single elimination, or one mistake and it's game over. But on paper, with the team that Germany have, with all the players that they have, the depth that they have, it's theirs to lose, which is of course another big thing to handle. We've seen that my first World Cup in 1994, Germany were the Uber team. They were the team that couldn't lose the World Cup, and they did. So, there's no certainties in football.
Yep, sometimes the pressure can get to you. I'm kind of leaning towards Brazil. Just recently, I've been thinking Brazil could do it, especially with Jesus up top, and of course Neymar and Coutinho there as well. But we have to wait until 2018. It's not a long wait yet. It's just a couple of months, just a few months until Russia, and you'll be there. From the Football Grad blog, Manuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you once again for having me.
So a lot of you guys looking forward to 2018, and Nishad says he's looking forward to the World Cup and also Arsenal winning the Europa League. I'm not too sure how much attention Wenger will be paying to the Europa League. And there's a goal at Crystal Palace, 1-0 to the Arsenal. Let me see, who scored it? It's, I believe, Shkodran Mustafi who's got the goal. The 1-0 taking the lead after a free kick. And at the far post, I believe, here we see a little bit of headers. I'm trying to see the goal, guys. Arsenal winning the Europa League. Well, I think they're going to focus on trying to get back in the Champions League. At the back post, a tidy finish from Shkodran Mustafi, the centre-back, the German centre-back, just lingering there. Lingering. So 1-0 Arsenal at Crystal Palace. Let's see what you guys are looking forward to. Lakshya says PSG versus Real Madrid in the Champions League. A massive clash that will eliminate one of the favourites for the competition. Lakshya also looking forward to Bayern versus Chelsea. A lot of you saying World Cup. Abdullah, Owen Tully. RK just looking forward to all the big matches and, of course, the World Cup. And we have Abdullah waiting for Milan to wake up. Well, earlier on we were talking about the dominance in Italy. At the moment it's Juventus, Turin. Roma probably getting close. Both Milan clubs haven't been doing too well, especially AC this season. Mustafi there with the goal, guys. 1-0 to Arsenal. And let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen now that Arsenal have taken the league. It looks like the 2-1 prediction from our two Arsenal fans has been pretty accurate. It's still on track to be correct. Now we just need Andros Townsend to score a goal and then Arsenal to get the winner. At the moment, Christian Benteke breathing heavily, being supremely slow as well. and not really doing much other than wasting space on the pitch. Bellerin charging down the right flank, but nothing comes of it. And let us know what you think of Alexandre Lacazette, Arsenal's summer signing. He, for my taste, hasn't been doing all too well considering his reputation and price tag he came with. Owen Tully says, I don't think Arsenal will get any silverware this season. I've got to say, I mean, they've got a chance to win the Cup. They've been doing that very successfully over the past 3 years. But I think this season they could go trophyless. And again, without the Champions League, because in the top three, Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea look to have nailed the first three, for the first three spots. And then it's a three-way battle for the fourth place for me, between Tottenham, Liverpool and Arsenal. And at the moment, Liverpool just have the edge, although Tottenham also looking very strong, especially if Alderweireld comes back.
1 minute.
One more minute before we leave you guys and wish you a very, very happy new year. 2018 is just around the corner. Colombia also wants Real Madrid to wake up and win the league. I don't think that's going to happen. Colombia 105. At the moment, they're very far behind and possibly could use some help from a Colombian player, James Rodriguez, who they got rid of in the summer. And even worse for my taste, getting rid of Alvaro Morata. Pretty poor form. Nishad here, excited for an Arsenal win. He says 3-0 to the Arsenal. And Colombia here, he's giving us his tip for the Russia final. Portugal versus Brazil. Could happen. Could happen. Brazil, for me, one of the big favourites for the World Cup title. So if Arsenal win here today, they will be within 1 point of the top four. A great position to be in for them if they want to get into the Champions League next season. It's going to be really tough for them. If Palace can turn this around and win, they would go up to 12th in the league, which would be a pretty good place to go into January into. Roy Hodgson with an incredible turnaround at Palace. 9 games unbeaten. Can that run be extended? It doesn't look like it at the moment. Crystal Palace trailing by a 1-0 after Shkodran Mustafi tucked it in to the far post, and it's been all Arsenal since then. They've not had a lot of shots on target, but the lion's share of possession. So Crystal Palace facing a real uphill battle, guys. So Matthew Novak saying, shit, I'm late. Yes, you are late, Matthew, because we're about to go, unfortunately, but we'll be back next Thursday again with... Sorry? Yeah, Joe, of course, will be back as well. And hopefully we'll see you guys all once more together here at Onefootball headquarters here in Berlin. Till then, enjoy the rest of the year, what's left of it, and make sure to join us again in January in 2018. See you then.